Yo guys, it's your friend here, bringing you another awesome Naruto what if tale. Which is, without wasting your time, let's start the fanfic. What if Naruto and Sasuke rewrote history with memories of the future? Now I am sure you all have seen time travel fics before, and so have I, but I have never seen a Naruto time travel from the last. So I decided, why not? The idea has been in my head for some time, but I never did anything with it because I was working on the other stories. Now the pairing will be Naruto and Hinata. I know another one, but deal with it. I normally don't like Naruto and Hinata, but this can't be helped. Naruto and Kurama will be the only ones to go back and remember what happened. Naruto will stay fused with his dark half, and Kurama won't have all the hate as well. Naruto will also have the full Kurama and not only half. Without further ado, enjoy. I own nothing I may use. They didn't give us enough time. I had things under control. Why did they shoot the damn laser, assholes? They probably took this chance to get rid of me. They said I was too strong. I tried to ignore the signs, but I should have listened to Hinata-chan. Shit, Hinata-chan. I hope she and the baby are alright. I should go and look for them. Naruto looked around only to see endless darkness around him. He was in space, but there was at least the big sun and bright stars. There was nothing. He was all alone and cold. Hey, you're not alone, I am still here. The friendly giant spoke from inside of his head. Kurama, oh boy, am I glad to hear you, buddy. Do you know where we are? Naruto shouted, not finding a need to be silent if no one was around to tell him to be quiet. Especially Sakura, she was louder than he was. I have no idea, maybe we are dead. His blunt answer gave Naruto no comfort. If that's the case, where is the white light and big gates? I would have liked to walk through them with Hinata-chan. He said the last part sadly, the fact that he was dead and his Hinata was not with him. If she isn't here, maybe she survived somehow. He smiled at that thought only to frown later. But that means she will have to raise their child by herself, and his child will never know his father. A single tear came from his eye at that. This isn't what he wanted. Don't worry about it, Naruto. She will do a good job and raise the baby right. Kurama tried to help his friend. He too was also attached to the violet-haired vixen. Yay, but I'll miss them. His attention was snapped upwards when he saw something appear in front of him. It was a giant white gate with a bright white light. Well, Kurama, let's see what awaits us. Naruto walked right into the gates with no regard as to what might happen to him. His vision was filled with nothing but white until he couldn't see anything else. Opening his eyes once again, he can see that he is in his beat-down apartment, looking right into the busted light of his ceiling. Looking around, he is confused as to what he is seeing. His bedroom from when the old man gave it to him. What the hell is going on? Why am I in my room? There is no way my room is heaven, unless Hinata-chan is in the bed with me. He giggles perversely from remembering their well-spent times. He got up and fell right to the floor. Damn, it seems that I am not used to this little body of mine. That is not good. It means I will have to train my body again. I won't be able to do all my moves. He paused at that. How can he remember all of this stuff? Did he keep all his previous knowledge from his past life? Oh my god, I remember everything. That means I have to do it all again. He dropped to his bed and let out an annoyed groan. That means he has to deal with Sasuke, Sakura, the village, Obito and everyone else all over again. At least this time I will be 100 times stronger and hopefully tip the world on its head. I should be careful though, if I change too much, all the information I have will be useless. I should also hold some of my skills back to not be an open book again. He walked into his kitchen to see where he was sent back to. So the academy starts next week. That means the boring classes all over again, but more importantly I can see Hina-chan again. He had a hard time not running right over to her house and wrapping her up in a hug. Let's see about my pal Kurama. He took a seat on his couch and tried to make contact with his furry friend. He found himself in the familiar dump that was his mind and vowed to change it for his friend once again. Walking the familiar roads of his mind, he made his way to where Kurama was being held. He ran up to the bars, but before he could get too close he had to dodge a sharp nail, but due to not being used to his little body he wasn't able to dodge the tails that shot towards him and smacked him hard into the wall. Damn fox. He fell out the wall onto his face. Well, look at the little man. Kurama laughed at the struggling boy trying to get off the ground. You have become weak once again. Once the strongest ninja in history and now the weakest kid in the village. We have some work to do, Naruto. Kurama came to the light and had a tawny grin on his face and clear amusement in his eyes. You bastard, and to think I was going to fix up this place for you again. But after that I don't think I will. He crossed his arms and turned around. Hey wait, I was just testing you, no need to be like that. Kurama said, trying to convince him to change his mind. Only to hear the laughter of Naruto. AAA, it's fine. I am glad you did that actually, it shows me that I have a lot of work to do. Last time you tried that I shoved a dozen Rasengans into you. Naruto turned around to smirk at him, making Kurama growl. You only won because your mom helped you and I wasn't at full power. I bet you won't do it again though. Kurama gave him a challenging grin. You're right, I am not stupid. But is it me or do you look bigger than usual? Indeed, Kurama looked bigger than he remembered him being at this age. So you've noticed. He grinned down at Naruto. It seems that I kept all of my power and stayed whole, you even stayed connected with your darkness, so the sooner you take this seal off the sooner you can use my power and I can be outside. Oh my god, why do you have to be like that? You want me to use your power so bad, I swear you act like a child sometimes. What did you say? Who are you calling a child? I could crush you right here. Kurama was up against the bars of the cage glaring at Naruto, who was glaring right back at him. Plus I didn't ever see you complaining when you were all like Kurama. The giant beast chuckled at remembering how Naruto was always drunk off his power. That's because you were always like, why would you use Sage Mode when you have me, the strongest Biju, or were you not like that? Naruto remembers how he would get yelled at when he never used his power. That's because it's true, you didn't need it. It was only because when I got your power it was too late for me to learn from the ground up, and I would just steamroll everything. But now I can start from the bottom and become even stronger than I was in my prime. Naruto pumped his fist and was already going through plans in his mind. Fine, but you have a long way to go until you reach that level, plus you don't have those 6 paths amps anymore nor a link to all us tailed beast, which means. Yay, I know, no more 5 elements and chakra or nature transformations for me. Man, I am going to miss all of that. Yay, would ever just change this place will you and go get some training done. Naruto then focused and changed the sewer into a luscious forest with a giant cave for him to go into. The seal then turned into a giant sun. That is much better. Kurama then stretched and walked around getting used to his new place. Alright buddy, I'll see you. Naruto then vanished from his mindscape and appeared back on his couch. Time barely passed and he was glad for that. He could walk around the village and go to his training ground he found in his past life. He would need to get used to that whole past life thing. Putting on a white shirt with his clan symbol on his back, orange pants that went into high-ankle black ninja sandals. He walked outside and just looked around at everything. Man, this place is so undeveloped compared to how it used to be. I can use that to my advantage. By using some of the knowledge of the future I can make some of those things here. He thought of the advanced seals he could use. Alright, I will go to the training ground and see if I can perform some of my jutsu, and if not I will just need to work at it. I should also take this time to find a correct fighting style. I will send some clones to the library and have them grab a bunch of things. He then began to dash off in his 8-year-old body. He was in the streets walking and he just let out a sigh at all the glares he was getting again. I swear just yesterday, the girls were running up to me asking to sign their autographs. Ha, is the hero of war feeling sad? Kurama's mocking laughter could be heard. Naruto gained a tick mark on his head, but he ignored it. He continued to walk until he found the place he was looking for. A wide clearing surrounded by miles of trees and a small waterfall that leads into a lake big enough to take a swim in. The sound of rushing water and small breeze of the wind brings back a memory of his past life. Flashback. 19-year-old Naruto was getting some extra training in while he waited for his girlfriend to show up. It was only midday and decided to train off the time. Hinata said there was some big news and he just had to hear it. Finishing up his last taijutsu katas, he pops all of his clones, gawing the memories of all he learned today. Alright, another wind jutsu is in the bag. He pumped his fist. Naruto-kun. He looks to the direction he heard his name and can see his Hinata running towards him with a bright smile on her face and love full in her eyes. Love for him, and he returns it with all his heart. He opened his arms for her and she happily ran into his arms and gave him a big hug. Naruto-kun. It's amazing. Hinata spoke with her head resting on his shoulder. What is? He asked, rubbing her back lovingly like he always did. She mumbled something under her breath, causing Naruto to not hear what she said. Hina, speak up. I said, I am pregnant. She spoke too fast for him to understand. What? I said I am pregnant. Hinata yelled, lifting her head from his shoulder and smiling. Naruto was shocked to say the least. You are pregnant. A shake of the head from Hinata confirmed what he said. She was still giving him that bright smile. I am going to be a dad. Another shake of her head. I am going to be a mother. She squealed and hugged him tighter. Naruto wrapped his arms around her and spent her around, making her giggle and smile. We are going to be parents. They laughed together. He stops and they then stare lovingly at each other and share a passion-filled kiss, pouring all of their love for each other in the kiss. Flashback over. He smiled at the sky. It was one of the best days of his life. He would cherish that until he died. Again. Now wasn't the time for that though. He shook his head in order to get ready for what he wanted. Alright, let's try this out. He put his hand out and much to his shock he formed a Rasengan. As soon as it appeared, though, it was gone. He fell to one knee and panted. Whoa, it seems that my body can't handle that right now. I really need to train my body. He gained his breath and then began to do regular body workouts. He ran, climbed, jumped, sit-ups, pull-ups, and did it all over again. Laid out on the ground, he panted from the intense workout he put himself in. Man, I should put those seals on my body to make me grow faster. I will just need to run to the ninja shop and pick up the things I would need. That way I can draw some barrier seals and keep people from feeling Kurama's chakra. He held up a hand sign that was all too familiar to him. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 30 clones popped into existence. Okay, I want 2 of you to make your way into town and hit up the library and ninja shop. Be sure to transform so they will let you in. The rest come with me and train in our chakra control. He ordered the clones around, but they just looked at him confused and he looked back at them. Who are you? One of the clones asked until the clone grabbed its head and started to recall all the memories from Naruto's past life. What the hell? All the clones started seeing flashes of his life. They saw him battle pain. They saw Sasuke leave the village. They saw him add his wind nature chakra to the Rasengan. They saw the 10 tails. They saw him hold off Obito and Madara by himself. They saw the villagers respect him, and then they saw his death. Whoa, that was weird. A clone said, so you are from a different place. Forget that. Did you see how strong we were? Did you see how our child was created? Some of the clones giggle at that memory. Just do what I said already, will you? He shouted to the clones who scrambled away to do their task. The rest of the day went on just like that. He trained his body and chakra. When his clones came back and popped, he was able to gain the memories of what they experienced. One of his clones picked up a scroll on taijutsu called Renewal Taekwondo. It specializes in strong linear kicks and punches. You must have good flexibility and a lean muscular build. Something he could do easily. His clone that went to the weapons shop was able to pick up some of the tools he needed for his sealing. Something he would be better at to honor his mother. He could also learn his father's famous jutsu, but he didn't want to do that, because he was already faster than his father. The sun was now benign to set and he was going to go home and come back out here tomorrow to train until he dropped. He popped his clone and learned he was able to get halfway up the tree today, along with only being able to take a few steps on the water. He practiced his new taijutsu style, and if he was being honest, it was awesome. He had to shape his body right, which meant he couldn't eat ramen every day like he used to. He walked back to the city and was making his way back to the ramen stand for dinner. Just because he couldn't eat it all the time didn't mean he would not get some when he could. Hello there guys, I'll take the usual. Naruto sat in his chair that had his name on it with a smile. Hey there my boy, how are you doing? Tsuki gave the boy a smile. Hey there Naruto-kun. Ayame, the daughter of Tsuki, gave Naruto a hug that he returned. I just got done doing some training, and I just wanted to come and get some of the food I love. Well, you know we got you covered, I'll get right on it. Ayame said and walked to the back of the room. He sat there and had a good 15 bowls of ramen and paid them in full price, putting smiles on their faces from the amount of money. He got up and made his way to his house, ignoring all the angry glares and curses he received. Some villager threw a bottle at him, but he caught it and threw it back at the man, making it break on his face. Pick up your trash. That was all Naruto said and walked off. He was not going to be pushed around again. He continued walking until he felt something he knew all too well. This chakra. He turned to the direction it was coming from and he could see her. Hinata was coming out of her favorite bakery shop with cinnamon buns in a bag. He smiled and ran towards her. Hinata was having an overall good day. She had woken to the uncaring gaze of her father as usual. It still made her feel sad to see the way he looked at her. She did her morning training with some of her family. She talked with her little sister, who was still a little baby. Now she thought it was time to get her favorite treat and maybe do some spying, or what she called it, protecting from a distance, and eat her cinnamon buns. I wish I could have protected Naruto-kun from a distance today, but I wasn't able to see him at all. Oh well, I will just have to wait until tomorrow to protect. She walked outside her store to go home until she heard her name being called. She looked back and her face went red. Naruto-kun. He is coming towards me. What do I do? Naruto wrapped the girl in a tight hug, not caring about anyone who may look at him for this. Hinata, for her part, was a mess. She was being hugged by her crush and people were looking. Her face was all red and she couldn't even begin to speak. Hinata-chan, I'm so glad to see you. He pulled back to give her a warm smile that made her blush even more. She thought she saw tears in his eyes. He is glad to see me. I am glad to see you as well. She was still in his arms and blushing. Hello and Naruto-kun. I am glad to see you as well. She began to play with her fingers and looked down. Naruto only smiled even more. He missed that about her. It was just so cute. Can I walk you home? He asked with a charming smile on his young face. Why yes, she replied, not looking up for a fear of passing out. Great. He grabbed her by the hand and pulled her along, already knowing where she lived thanks to being there so often. The people gave them weird gazes at the demon brat hanging with the Hyuga heiress. Hinata-chan, can I ask you something? Naruto looked at her with their hands still being held. Why yes. Would you like to train with me tomorrow? I have found this secret spot and I will take you there to train with me. But you must keep it a secret, our little secret. He squeezed her hand a little bit tighter at the last part. Just me and you? Hinata asked, going red at what she was thinking. Yup. So what will it be? Of course I will train with you, she said with a small smile at being able to get closer to Naruto. Okay, great. I will come get you tomorrow morning, so be ready, okay? Make sure to wear clothes you can train in. We are going to be getting hot and heavy. He sent her a wink at the last part and she almost fainted when she understood what he meant. Naruto only chuckled even more. They walked until they reached her compound and were stopped by the guards. They reluctantly let go of each other's hands, making them both feel sad at the loss of each other. Naruto pulled her in for another warm hug that she returned, this time with the blush still on her face. She had got a bit more comfortable over the time they were talking and walking. "Okay, Hinata-chan, I will come to get you tomorrow." He broke the hug and gave her one last smile that she returned. "Okay, Naruto-kun, good night." Naruto then ran off to the direction of his house with a smile on his face the whole time. "So you finally got to speak with your mate, feeling better?" Despite his teasing, Kurama was also very happy to see the lavender-eyed vixen again. "Yay, I am very happy to see her again. I will also help her out by making her super strong from the beginning. Since we know she has the purest eyes of her clan, she might even be able to unlock that Tensogen that had. If she gets that, then only her and that stupid Uchiha will be able to rival your power. Ha ha ha, that would be good, wouldn't it? But I doubt Sasuke will get that strong again unless things really get out of hand like last time. But I will try to prevent things from getting that bad." He made it to his house and took a quick shower and put his night clothes on. The last chance. Those were his last words before he went to sleep in order to wake up for the next morning. Next day, Naruto can be seen in his bedroom in a cross-legged position, staying completely still. Naruto was just starting to wake up from his sleep and his back was starting to hurt from sleeping on the ground. He tried to get up, but he saw Hinata sleeping soundly on his chest. She was even drooling a little bit. He chuckled at the cute sight in front of him. He was lucky he didn't go into puberty yet, or he would be dealing with morning wood. He was annoyed that he would have to deal with puberty once again. That meant getting boners at random times, getting hard while going to sleep. He tried to wiggle out of Hinata's grasp, but he forgot how strong her grip was. He swore that sometimes she was as strong as Granny Tsunade. That made him think about his mother in Everything But Blood. He knew she was hurting right now and he wanted to help her like he did last time, but right now he had to help himself first. He would live his younger life to his liking, unlike last time where he couldn't do that. To shoulder everything and overcome it. That was how he lived and it's how he brought peace to the world, and he would be damned if he didn't do it again. But he needed power in order to do those things, and it all started from here. He would take this time to have a strong start and hopefully get to a good enough level. In order to do that though, he needed to get up and train, but someone was stopping him from doing that. "Hina-chan, it's time to get up," Naruto said, rubbing her hair affectionately, making the girl smile in her sleep and snuggle closer to him. "No, 5 more minutes." She spoke half asleep. "Hinata-chan, it's morning, and we have to get up. I don't wanna just go back to sleep. You leave me no choice, Hinata." He got ready to use the final trump card. "Free cinnamon buns outside," he said loud enough for her to hear. She got up immediately and had her Byakugan activated and was looking around for them. Where? She went outside to see nothing but animals looking at her like she was crazy. She then turned around and heard the sound of Naruto laughing and understood she was just pranked. She blushed in anger and charged back into the tent with Byakugan blazing. "So you think that was funny, Naruto-kun?" Hinata asked in a sweet tone, putting Naruto on edge because he knew that tone. Hey Hinata-chan, and no need to get upset." Naruto put his hands up while laying down. An aura of doom surrounded Hinata and she jumped on him, making Naruto yelp at her actions. She then put her hands up and got ready to deliver strikes to his gut. "You leave me with no choice," Hinata said, getting ready to attack. Well, looks like the shoe's on the other foot this time." Hinata then began to deliver a barrage of strikes to his gut, making him laugh because she was tickling him and it was always his weak spot. Hinata was laughing along with Naruto. He then gave her a loving smile that made her blush because she was able to see all the love for her in those sky blue eyes she loved so much. The love that she had wanted to see for years, and it was all for her. She then blushed even more when she saw the position they were in. Hinata was on top of him while Naruto had his hands on her hips. She squeaked and then jumped off of him with a mega red blush on her face. Sorry NN Naruto-kun. Hinata looked down and played with her fingers, making Naruto only smile at the girl. Don't worry Hinata-chan, how about I treat you to some breakfast as a sign of my apology? He gave her a smile that made her smile back. Is it cinnamon buns? I don't think that is good for breakfast. Neither is ramen. Good point. They then took a quick dip in the lake and put clothes back on so they do not smell like and sweat while trying to enjoy their breakfast. Once they have clothes on, they walk out to the forest looking and smelling better. Naruto had left a couple of clones behind to continue his training. When they made it to the village, they began to get stares again, more like they all looked at Naruto, but he just ignored it and kept walking while Hinata wondered why they all looked at them with such anger. She was a bit scared and held his hand for comfort, making Naruto give her a glance and smile that made her feel better. He turned his head so she couldn't see the dark look on his face. He released some ki that made everyone in the area except for Hinata turn and go the other way with panicked faces. Ha, that got their asses moving. Maybe if you had done this last time you wouldn't have had to deal with all of them. His guardian angel spoke in an amused tone. Yay, but then they would only be afraid of me and I can't have that, so I won't do that all the time. Naruto responded back to his inner beast. He knew that if he only made them scared of him that would not work and he would end up like Gaara and his village. They came upon the bakery shop that Hinata loved so much and she basically dragged him inside the store, making the storekeeper laugh. Welcome back Hinata-sama, shall I get you the usual? A kid who looked about 13 spoke from behind the counter. He had red hair that looked like a mix between purple. He had big yellow eyes with a black pupil, eyes filled with passion for cooking and making people happy. Yes Soma, I will take the usual, Hinata said with a smile. Soma then noticed the boy holding Hinata's hand and smirked. Oh, you brought your boyfriend over. He teased, making Hinata go red as a tomato. No, I was just bringing him over. He said he would buy it for me. Hinata was a mess. She had let go of Naruto's hand and began to poke her fingers, looking down from embarrassment. Naruto and Soma then laugh it off, making her pout cutely. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. Nice to meet you. Naruto held his hand out for the boy to shake. I'm Soma Yukihira. It's a pleasure. He shook Naruto's hand and they smiled towards each other. I will go and get your order ready. It won't take long. He then walked off, leaving the two by themselves. So you two look like close friends. How long have you known each other? He was curious to know because this place was not here last time. Yes, we are good friends. I used to come here with my mother and we would always enjoy the food they made. Soma would always work here with his father, but he has gone on some trip, leaving Soma to run the place with others. Hinata then became a little sad at thinking about her mom, who had died not too long ago after giving birth to Hanabi. Naruto, seeing this, walked up and gave her a hug. I'm sorry for bringing up painful memories for you, Hinata-chan. Hinata was blushing a storm at the close proximity of her and Naruto. Ever since yesterday he had been acting strange. She was not complaining though, she enjoyed spending this time with Naruto and she even got stronger. Soma walked back out to see Hinata in the arms of Naruto with a dreamy smile on her face. He saw this and pulled out a camera. Snap! A flash of light in Naruto and Hinata turned to see Soma drawing off a picture. He showed it to Hinata, who blushed and snatched the picture away before anyone could see. So he isn't your boyfriend? The smirking Soma asked teasingly. Hinata only took the food and left the restaurant, giving him the stink eye. Making him laugh even more. Hinata-chan, what was the picture? Can I see it? He went to grab it but Hinata moved it away from his hand. He tried to take it again but she kept moving it away from his hand. Hinata then put the picture in her shirt and gave Naruto a smile. He only huffed and turned around, making Hinata giggle. Come on Naruto-kun, let's eat, I am starving. Hinata then pulled some out and began to eat. Fine, but next time we are having ramen. They sat on a bench and began to eat in silence, just enjoying each other's company in the morning. until a male Anbu drops in front of them. Hyuga-sama, Uzumaki-san, the Hokage wishes to speak with you. He put his hands on their shoulders and body flicker away to the Hokage office. Hokage office. When they appeared from the body flicker, the kids are a bit dizzy, but Naruto was able to shake it off pretty fast while Hinata stumbled a little bit. This was something the Hokage noticed and would keep for later. Anbu, you may leave. The Anbu bowed and left the same way he came in. So care to tell me where you kids were last night? He asked them, but his tone indicated it more as a demand and not a question. This made Hinata a little scared and she hid behind Naruto, who stepped in front of her protectively, and he could have sworn he felt a little ki from Naruto, but it was gone too soon to know for sure. Naruto overall didn't really have the old man in high standard anymore once he got older. He knew why he did everything and respected his actions as a Hokage, but he was still not happy at how the old man handled things. He was also pretty pissed at how he basically told him to off when he would ask about his parents. He was well aware of what would happen if his true heritage was leaked, but he did not have to wipe the Uzumaki clan from the library completely. He didn't have to make his birth records top secret. He didn't have to block him from doing a DNA sample. He would claim it was for his protection, but he knew it was more for the village and not him. We were out in the forest training late last night and decided to just camp out. Naruto didn't see the need to lie to the man, so he told the truth, and Hinata would only give them away. The old Hokage raised an eyebrow at his answer. What kind of training, Naruto? He wondered if it was the same thing he would always see him doing. It's a secret. The short reply gave away nothing, but Naruto knew the old man would try to spy on him with that crystal ball. So he would have to place a seal on his body that didn't allow him to be spied on with the ball. Oh, is that so? Can I at least get a hint? Hiruzen was going to fish out as much as he could from Naruto. For some reason Naruto seemed different, and he had this aura around him that made him feel as if he was talking to a strong ninja that has seen many things. Just the basics, nothing too special. Naruto was not about to play this game with the old man. He had things to do. Hiruzen frowned at the boy. This was not going the way he thought they would. Not to mention the clan head of the Hyuga was breathing down his back, thinking his daughter was kidnapped again. The man had Hyuga searching for Hinata for the better part of the night. Well then, if you don't want to tell me, that's fine. I guess you are at that age. Hiruzen tried to guilt-trip Naruto into telling him by playing as an old man who just wants to stay young. Nobody was buying that. Hinata, your father would like to know that you are okay, so you should go see him. Hinata was about to walk away when she was pulled back. I'll walk you home, Hinata-chan. He grabbed her hand and began to walk out the door. See you, Hokage. Waving over his shoulder to the old man, who slightly waved back. Hiruzen eyed the red swirl on the back of his black shirt. He felt bad for hiding everything from the boy, but it was for the good of the village. Making their way outside the office hand in hand, Hinata was really enjoying all of the attention she was getting from her crush. Naruto-kun, I don't think we will be able to train with each other again today. She was a little sad at the revelation. Don't even worry about it, I figured this would be the case. I have other things to do today. Just make sure you train hard at your clan house. He gave her a smile that made her give her own. Oh, one more thing. Don't let people push you around either. If someone wants problems, smack the shit out of them. Naruto spoke to the girl in a serious tone so she could understand. Hinata gasped at that. She never really enjoyed hurting people, but as a ninja she knew it was unavoidable. I don't think I will be slapping anyone nor using such foul language. I will kindly ask them to stop, and if they don't, I will consider using your way of doing things. Hinata told him in a tone that meant she would not be talking about the situation anymore. Naruto only smiled at the Hinata-like answer. Fine, princess, but I expect you to not be letting those stuck-up holes push you around. Or I will have to come and beat up your whole clan and do it myself. Naruto also said in a tone similar to that of Hinata, making the girl giggle. They walked along the streets talking to each other and sharing laughs. overall just bonding with each other and getting to know the other better. They had made it to the compound with the same 2 gate guards from last time, however this time they only bowed and let the 2 inside, making Naruto smirk. They walked through the compound passing by other Hyuga who eyed Naruto with a suspicious gaze. They had ran into someone Naruto hadn't seen since the 4th Shinobi War, Neji Hyuga. "Hinata-sama, your father would like to speak with you right away." He said her name with clear anger and tried to pull her away with extra force. Hinata slapped his hand away and gave him a slight glare, remembering what Naruto had told her. "Big brother Neji, I can walk there myself, so please do not try that again." She then walked away to her father's study, leaving the 2 boys to themselves. Naruto chuckled at the shocked face of Neji, making him turn to glare at the boy. "What is a commoner like you doing in the house of the Hyuga?" Neji said harshly, not in the mood to play games. "I'll ignore that comment for now, but if you must know. I was walking Hinata-chan home." "Well, she is here, you can leave now." Neji was about to push him away. "Now I want to walk around this place. It is really big," Naruto said, turning around and walking away, leaving Neji to glare at his back and to walk after him. "You cannot be here, you must leave this instant." He walked next to Naruto and tried to grab his shoulder, but Naruto sidestepped and flicked him in the side of the head. Naruto then ran off, making Neji chase after him. "Get back here." They then began to run all around the place, causing quite the commotion. Naruto was all in the Hyuga kitchen. He even made himself some ramen and took some time to eat it until Neji busted down the door. "Get out." Naruto then took his ramen and ran off, still eating. He ran outside and transformed into a plant, making Neji and all the other Hyuga run past him and yell useless curses. Naruto, however, just chuckled and transformed back and picked up his ramen and began to walk off, humming a tune. He walked around until he found himself at a dojo and saw none other than Hanabi Hyuga in there training her little heart out. He silently made his way into the room and just watched her train and eat his ramen. Hanabi was going through stances for her gentle fist stance. She wanted to be just like her big sister, who was really good and always made time to spend with her even if she had a long day of training. Right when Hanabi was about to try and perform the 64 palms, she stopped when she heard a slurping sound. She looked to the side and saw Naruto eating a bowl of ramen and just watching her. "How long has he been there?" She got out of her stance and just looked at Naruto, who looked back. "What are you doing here?" Hanabi wanted to get this guy out of here so she could get back to training. Naruto only gazed back at her. He placed his empty bowl down and smiled at her. "The last time I saw her it was without her eyes and she was calling me Ni-chan." Naruto just gave the girl a friendly smile. "I was just walking around and happened to see Hinata-chan's younger sister. I just wanted to see you up close. You know Oni-sama." Hanabi was surprised that this boy knew her sister. "Yes, we are great friends." Hanabi was now thinking who this guy was and no longer thinking about her training. "Now why don't you get to training, little firecracker?" He ruffled her hair, making the girl glare and swat his hand away. "Don't call me a firecracker and don't ruffle my hair." Hanabi glared up at the taller blonde who was only laughing at the girl. Naruto only pinched her cheeks and pulled them, making the girl groan and try to speak. "Don't be taking that tone with me, my little firecracker." He ruffled her hair again. Neji then came through the dojo door with paint all over his face from a trap Naruto had set up. He glared at Naruto with anger and frustration. "You!" Neji charged, ready to strike. He extended out his palm ready to strike Naruto in the chest. Naruto gently guided his arm to the ground, making Neji fall to the ground and giving Naruto the chance to throw a pink paint bomb at his back. "I'll see you some other time, firecracker." He then ran out the room, having to escape the wrath of an angry Neji. Naruto was able to dodge all of the Hyuga and make his way back outside and began to finally do what he needed to have done. "I need to buy some new equipment and get a custom-made mask to cover up my Sage mode. I will need to wear long sleeves to cover up all the runes and anything else that may appear with this new form." Speaking of that, I should probably train in it today. He made his way to the ninja shop that always sold the best gear. He made his way to the weapon shop called Golden Leaf. He walked in and a bell sounded over the door. He heard a girl's voice sound from behind the counter. He looked over and saw two brown buns moving under the counter. He smiled at knowing who that was. She popped her head from over the counter and smiled. "Hello, how may I help you?" She stopped when she saw the 8-year-old Naruto gazing at her. "Hey kid, we don't sell toys here." She didn't get why people always came in here looking for toys. This was a ninja shop. "Sigh, I just came to buy some tools for my training and I wanted you to put in a custom order, but if you can't do that I will go somewhere else." Naruto was about to walk out the door until Tenten called out towards him. Wait, I'm sorry. I will help you out." Naruto stopped walking and turned around and gave her a smile. "Great, and about that custom order, can we do that?" "Yes we can, just tell me what you want and how you want it." Naruto then put a design of the type of mask he wanted on the counter. Tenten gazed at it with a raised eyebrow. It was a white mask with 2 orange vertical lines running down the 2 eye holes all the way down to the bottom of its jaw. The jaw was sharp and narrow. There were 2 rows of white human-like teeth. The mask Ichigo uses to fight Yami in Bleach. "That's a scary mask you got there. We can have it done in 2 days, so be sure to come and get it. Now, is there anything else you would need help with?" Naruto walked around to grab what he needed and brought it to the counter. He placed empty sealing scrolls and tags along with kunai and shuriken. Tenten rang all that up and placed them in bags. "Okay Naruto, I will have your special mask ready, so come back soon." Naruto smiled at the girl and walked to the door but paused and looked back at the girl. "I never received your name, would you tell me please?" Tenten rubbed the back of her head in embarrassment. "Sorry, my name is Tenten. Nice to meet you." "Okay Tenten, I will see you around." He left the store to go drop his things off and change clothes so he could train. Training ground. Naruto was doing some stretches ready to begin his training. He was wearing a black zipped-up high collar with an orange zipper, loose orange pants with black ninja sandals. The last outfit. He began to run 500 laps around the training ground and did 500 push-ups, sit-ups, squats, and pull-ups. He practiced in his new fighting style by placing a water bottle on top of a wood post he made. He tried to kick the water bottle off the post without touching the post or making the post move at all. He was finding it extremely difficult because he would end up missing if he kicked too slow or hit the post if he kicked too fast and still miss the bottle. After 1 hour and 30 minutes he was finally able to kick the bottle without any problems. Naruto then decided to make a shadow clone and enhance it with Kurama's chakra and begin to spar with it. He was able to fight with it for a little while, but it took all his years of fighting just in order to keep up with the clone, but experience wasn't enough to defeat his clone that was stronger than he was. Kurama wanted him to let the clone use one tail, but Naruto knew if the clone had used even one tail he wouldn't stand a chance. He also practiced more on his chakra control while also expanding his own reserves. He began to fight on top of the water in a shadow clone free for all, which made him have a little fun. He came out on top, but if he didn't, that would be embarrassing. He practiced in perfecting his wind element and found out he had a strong fire element. His flames became white and were an intense flame. Naruto had no idea where the flame element came from, but he was not complaining and would make the most out of what he had. Once he found out about his new element, he began to practice with his fire manipulation and tried to burn a leaf with just his chakra. He didn't know too many fire jutsu, so he would have to go back to the library if he wanted to learn more or just wait for Kakashi to train him in more, but he knew Kakashi was a Sasuke fanboy and wouldn't really teach him anything. That brought up another thing he had to do. Sasuke. He could tell him the truth while he was young, or just make him think for himself and come to his own conclusion. Naruto knew that Sasuke was in a delicate position right now, so he decided he would just reach out to him this time and not just watch his back. Although he would have to deal with his attitude again, but decided he would beat it out of him, but first he needed to be strong enough to show Sasuke he could help him with gaining power. He would also help Sakura, but that would not be as easy. He got all of those thoughts off with some more training and sparring. He made another clone again and enhanced it once again, and this time he went all out. He released the seals he placed on his body and also used his limited knowledge of jutsu he was able to perform safely. The training ground was filled with the sound of explosions and shockwaves. They fought on the water, trees, air, and on the ground. He spilled blood everywhere in that field. He was having fun while also growing strong. That was when an idea came into his head. Rock Lee. He would go find Lee and train with him. Naruto knew firsthand how good Lee was. His fight in the Chunin exams was one of his favorite fights to have seen. But he needed to practice in using Kurama's chakra first so he could be able to match the gates he knew Lee would use. Plus Kurama was nagging him about it as well. Naruto also had a clone working on rewrote, and the clone was able to walk around and do a little sparring before dispelling, leaving him with the knowledge. We can find Naruto with his shirt off in a half-lotus position in deep concentration. He was trying to gain access to rewrote. A few seconds later and there it was, he had transformed. Standing up he did a couple practice moves and noticed that he had a significant buff. His speed and power had been enhanced tremendously. It feels good, I can feel the increase. He performed the Rasengan, and unlike last time he was able to use his wind chakra and create the Rasenshuriken. He was even able to throw it, which made him and Kurama go wide-eyed at the ease all of that was able to be done. Holy shit, it worked. Where Naruto had through the attack, the whole section of the forest was blown up and only left a massive crater in the center. Well, I'll be damned, you did it. Kurama was also greatly surprised by the transformation. He wondered if Naruto was the only one who could learn this kind of sage mode, or did it have something to do with his DNA, or was he impacting the transformation in some way. Naruto had created a seamless shadow clone and made it use some of Kurama's chakra. He wanted to test the difference at full power. The clone's eyes turned red and slitted along with its nails that had grown sharper. The whisker marks had grown thicker. Once he was finished, they charged at each other with tremendous speed and clashed in the middle, causing a massive shockwave that caused wind to pick up. Naruto spun around on his feet and delivered a kick to the back of the clone head. He backflipped to gain some distance. Naruto then coated his hand in lightning, making him go wide-eyed. Can I use all of the elements? He quickly formed the Chidori, making him smirk at finally being able to use this. He charged the clone and hit it right in the shoulder, making him laugh at the turn of events. The clone puffed in smoke, leaving him to think to himself, if I can use all the elements when in this form, then the options are limitless. Naruto grabbed his last chakra paper and began to channel chakra. The paper split into a bunch of little pieces that all turned to water. Some pieces caught fire while the others crumbled to dust. Holy shit. The grin that spread on both Naruto and Kurama's faces would cause anyone who saw it to shake in fear. They then began to laugh like madmen who had just discovered something new, which they did. The form then ran out, making Naruto fall to one knee instead of both knees, this time showing the progress. Okay, still have some work to do, but it ain't nothing I can't handle. He then took all his clothes off and got in the warm water to soak off. He decided once he got out he would go find Lee and fight him, and as he would say, bathe in the flames of youth. He got out and put his clothes back on and left his clones in the field while he left. He was glad he put up a barrier, or he would have been in a real problem. He placed the resistance seals back on his body and left the training ground. Naruto was jogging around the village looking for Lee and his adoptive father. Naruto had an ear to the streets, trying to see if he could hear them or the complaints everyone had about them. He then saw two green blurs and could see none other than Lee and Guy. They were doing their laps around the village, it seemed. Naruto ran up next to them and smiled towards the two. Hello guys, care if I join you? The two were shocked that someone wanted to run with them, They were always getting turned down. Lee and Guy looked towards each other and began to smile. Of course you can, my youthful friend. Let us bathe in youth together. They then ran around the village 300 times and Naruto was surprised that the two were not even tired. It was as if they could keep going. They had made it to a training field and Naruto wanted to get right to it. Lee, would you spar with me? Lee got stars in his eyes. Of course, it would be my pleasure to spar with you. They then walked into the middle of the field and Guy would be the ref for this youthful match. They both got into their stances and Guy did a double take at the stance he saw Naruto enter. He was a bit nervous because he knew of that stance and what it was capable of. Guy had heard of the rumors for the stance and he knew the power of it. That was the strongest martial art style known to man, and if Naruto had managed to master it. Have mercy on his enemies. Are you ready? Guy held his hand up. Go. He drew his hand down and the two charged each other, leaving clouds of dust where they once stood. Naruto had his knees bent ready to jump off at any moment. He had his left arm sitting on his waist ready to strike out any second while his right arm was stretched out, giving him balance and the distance of his opponent. Lee had his legs apart and was squatted down a bit. His right arm was extended in a come here gesture while his other arm was behind his back. Guy was looking at them both with critical eyes. He could tell this spar would not be a regular spar but something to really showcase the talent of their skill. However, he could not help but worry at the look in Naruto's eyes. He can see how he holds himself and it is similar to that of a cage with years of experience and multiple wins under his belt. Begin. He swung his hand down as the signal to start the fight. The two waste no time and charge each other right off the back and meet in the middle, causing a shockwave to go through the training ground. Naruto has his left leg out meeting the right leg of Rock Lee. They smirk and flip back only to charge back towards each other. Leaf Whirlwind. Lee swings his leg in a circular motion multiple times in an attempt to connect with his opponent. Naruto, however, was expecting this and jumped over Lee and delivered a kick to his back, causing him to be sent tumbling across the ground. Lee does a kick up and gets back into his stance with a smile on his face. This was going to be a great workout. Renewal Taekwondo Spinning Kick. Naruto does a spinning kick in massive tornado forms and connects with Lee, who is not only struck with the multiple attack from Naruto but he is also being spun around and is getting a little dizzy. Lee is thrown out the attack when Naruto delivered a punch that rocked his jaw and sent him back first into a tree, making him cough up some spit and a little blood. Lee isn't down for long though as he climbs back to his feet and stands on shaky legs. I am not done. Lee rushes Naruto, who meets him, and they begin a fierce battle of taijutsu. For each attack Lee throws, Naruto would counter and receive an attack from Naruto that was 2 times harder. Lee threw a barrage of punches that were all aimed to knock Naruto on his ass. Take things slow, you are not who you used to be. Naruto sees the attacks coming and perfectly dodges all the attacks in a manner that would leave all the Hyuga jealous. He ducks, weaves and spins out of Lee's attack range. Rock Lee couldn't believe what he was seeing. Naruto was easily dodging all his attacks and hitting him with enough force to leave a mark. He wasn't going all out but he was doing enough to where Genin would be pressed to dodge, but he moves as if he has been fighting his whole life. Guy was in a similar boat. He could see the way Naruto would move. He moved with confidence in his attacks while also keeping up his defense in a way that made it hard to land a decisive blow on Naruto to keep him down. Guy would also see the simple mistakes Naruto would make, like missteps or overextending, which would lead to Lee getting major hits on Naruto. He figured he would let Lee drop the resistance and fight with a little more power. Naruto was currently pressing Lee with an onslaught of attacks that he could barely put up a guard against. However, Lee saw Naruto's leg hesitate for a moment and he used that moment to counter-attack. Lee quickly did a sweep kick, knocking Naruto on his back, but he quickly rolled, avoiding the multiple stomps he would have received from Lee. Naruto did a spinneroonie and caught Lee with the unexpected move, which gained him some breathing room. Guy took this chance to speak up and help his student. Lee, take them off. Lee was surprised but also happy because he was enjoying where this spar was going and wondered if he could use his secret technique. Without further ado he reached into his orange leg warmers and pulled off the weights and tossed them to the side, causing a massive explosion on the sideline. He was expecting Naruto to be surprised but he only got a smile in return. Naruto knew what was coming and he wanted this. It was a good chance to test himself while also getting stronger at the same time. He removed his black jacket and also removed the resistance seals he placed on himself. Guy saw what Naruto did and was surprised once again at the show the kid was putting on. What's next? He uses some of the Nine Tails chakra. If things went that far, Guy would step in and force them to stop before they got swarmed by leaf ninjas. Naruto and Lee were having an intense stare-off, just eyeing each other to see who would make the first move. A single leaf floated down, signifying the second round would begin soon. As soon as it touched the ground, the both dashed off at high speeds. Dynamic entry. Goryo. Lee's attack connected with Naruto right into the gut, making him gasp, while Naruto's two quick kicks connected with Lee's head, snapping his head back. The two are sent back crashing into trees, causing a smoke cloud to pop up and shockwaves to vibrate through the training ground. They get up quickly with matching grins on their faces at having someone who could push them to their limits. Lee delivers a jaw-shattering punch to Naruto, whose head is snapped back, but he brings it back down with a headbutt to Lee. Naruto then gives Lee a open palm thrust to the gut, making him gasp for his breath. Naruto goes for a renewal front kick, however Lee sidestepped and delivered his own attack. Leaf Rising Wind. Lee crouches really low to the ground and delivers an upward kick to Naruto's chin, sending him into the air. Lee follows the attack up by jumping into the air. Leaf Drop. Lee delivers a dropping axe kick to Naruto's gut, sending him crashing into the ground with a boom and a cry of pain. Lee drops down to the ground outside of the crater Naruto formed. He was in his stance with a confident smile on his face. That should have done it. Lee was confident in his recent attack. He practiced that attack for hours on end and he even had the scars to prove it. In the crater, Naruto was just laying there in pain, but he still had a grin on his face. Man, Lee is as strong as ever. He is really kicking my butt. I hit him and he just comes back and does this brain-rattling attack. Naruto gets up to a knee in order to catch his breath some more. Just use my power. He won't be able to handle that. Kurama knew Naruto was giving his all in this fight, but it still wasn't enough to beat the bushy-brow kid. I can't. If I use your power, everyone will get suspicious about me and we can't have that right now. I just have to beat him with my own skill. He considered using rewrote but cancelled that idea because it would be just as bad as using Kurama's powers. He jumped out the crater, letting Lee and Guy see the state his body was in. Naruto's white shirt had been destroyed, leaving him in only his heavily damaged orange pants and dirty black ninja sandals. He had cuts and dirt all over his body and blood stains from him and Lee's fierce battle. Lee was not looking any better. His green jumpsuit had several cuts and blood stains mixed in with it, giving the jumpsuit a dirty green color. He had blood coming from his busted lip, just like Naruto, who had a nasty cut over his left eyebrow that was slowly healing. Lee and Guy were amazed that Naruto could still get up after an attack like that, but Lee simply smiled and got back into his stance. Naruto got ready to launch an attack he had learned. Twin Blue Dragon Kick. As Naruto stated, he swung his legs and two sky blue dragons with red eyes materialized and charged the wide-eyed Lee, who had to run and try to avoid the attacks, but he just couldn't shake them, so he decided to face them head-on. Leaf Whirlwind. Guy widened his eyes at what his student was about to do. Lee Don. T. It was too late as the two dragons collided with him, causing a giant explosion. Guy had to shield his face from the force of the attack because it was pushing him back. He knew Lee wouldn't be able to just get up and walk that attack off if the explosion was anything to go by. Indeed, Lee had taken the full force of the attack head-on and was laying face first in a crater with the top half of his jumpsuit destroyed. It looked like he was dead, however the slight movement of his legs indicated that he was indeed alive and slowly making his way to his feet. I didn't use too much power, did I? You didn't use enough. You know what's coming next, don't you? I do. I can take him, if you say so. Kurama was not so sure if he could though. Naruto knew firsthand how strong those gates were and he was going to be on the receiving end of the attack. Guy was getting ready to jump in and stop the fight, but he saw Lee getting to his feet and was again surprised at how strong these kids are. Their flames are an inferno. He would have to train some more if he wanted to match their flames. His attention was turned to Lee when he heard the boy speak up. Naruto-kun, your flames are truly burning, however the leaf's lotus blooms twice. First gate, gate of opening. Release. Lee is surrounded by green chakra that explodes off his body, causing debris to blow all over the place. He turns his gaze towards Naruto and disappears in a green blur and connects with Naruto, who is sent back crashing through trees and rubble. Naruto gets up and tries to block, but Lee is too fast and strong for him to counter effectively. He sees Lee coming with a haymaker ready to knock his lights out. Don't lose focus, stay with him, keep a cool head. Naruto promptly dodges and gives Lee a powerful kick to the gut, sending him into the air, making the boy's eyes widen from surprise or pain. Naruto jumps up to the boy and they begin to fight in the air as if they were currently not falling. Lee throws a punch to Naruto's face, but he slips his arm under Lee's and puts his leg behind his ankle and gave him multiple punches to the gut, making the boy cough up blood on Naruto's face. Nagawa kick. Naruto delivers a backflip kick to Lee and uses his body to jump off him while also sending Lee into the ground, causing another shockwave to be sent throughout the field. Guy again couldn't believe what he was seeing from just the two kids. Naruto was only 8 and fighting his student who was only 9 years old. If these two keep up their training, they would be unstoppable once they became older, and he would be the one to fuel them like his dad did with him. Lee slowly got up from the crater and walked out the smoke, still ready for more. You can do more, can't you, Naruto-kun? Lee looked up, see Naruto falling down with a grin and his leg cocked back for his next attack. Just see if you can handle this. Twin Dragon. Lee finds himself facing the same attack as last time and grins. It won't get me this time. Leaf Hurricane. Hurricane winds form a giant tornado that swallows up Naruto's twin dragon. Lee takes this to his advantage and flashes above the falling Naruto and delivers a strong attack to his ribs, hard enough to break some, and he even heard a crack. Naruto spits out some blood that gets on Lee, but Naruto soon finds himself being sent down into their combined attacks, making Guy go wide-eyed. He tries to go and catch him, but he isn't fast enough and the attack blows up, pushing him and Lee back from the force of the attack. The following explosion was so big it could be felt all the way in the village, and Hiruzen can see the attack from his office and he calls some of his Anbu and they all go to see the cause of it. The area where the attack blew up was only a smoking crater and left only blown over trees and destroyed grass. Lee drops to the ground with wide eyes and a horrified face at what he just did, along with Guy. They rush over to the crater to check if Naruto was okay. They can see Naruto back first with smoke coming off his body and blood covering his form. Guy drops down and picks the boy up, and that's when the Hokage and a squad of Anbu appear and look around in surprise at what is going on. Guy, what the hell happened? He walked up with wide eyes at all the damage to the training area. He then saw the state Lee and Naruto was in and wondered if he had used some of the Nine Tails power, but everyone would have felt that power being used once again. These two were sparring and it got out of hand. I will take Naruto and Lee to the hospital and get them checked out. Guy was about to leave until Hiruzen stopped him. When you are done, come to my office and explain what happened. Guy nodded and left in a burst of speed to the hospital. Hospital. Naruto was in his bed with bandages wrapped all over his body and he was slowly waking up. Rock Lee was in a bed next to him in the same condition. Lee, was it worth it? I don't know, I can't even get up to use the restroom. Yay, that dragon did hit you in the pelvis. That was very unyouthful. Naruto chuckled but stopped when it started to hurt. It wasn't my fault, you should have worn a cup in that damn jumpsuit of yours. Lee turned to him with a glare. You still shouldn't have aimed for my jewels. Sorry about that. They stop talking when they hear the door slide open and the Hokage, Guy, and Hinata walk in the room. Both men are pushed out of the way when Hinata sees Naruto is awake. Naruto-kun. Hinata runs up to Naruto with tears in her eyes and worry written all over her face. Naruto-kun, are you feeling any better? She grips his hand tightly, giving herself comfort and confidence. Naruto only gives the girl a loving smile that makes her cheeks go a bit red. I am doing much better now that you are here, princess. The words cause the girl to blush brightly and Naruto chuckles, making her pout a bit. You wouldn't happen to have any of the magical cream, would you? He asked her in a joking tone. Hinata smiles at the question. Yes, I have some, and I told you it's called healing ointment. Hinata reaches into the orange vest she is wearing and pulls out the ointment. Just tell me where it hurts and I will rub it in for you. She gives him a bright smile, holding the glowing medicine that seems to have a chorus singing behind it. Naruto smiles at the girl and rips apart the hospital gown, showing his developing muscled chest and healing body, making Hinata eep and turn her head from embarrassment. Just put it on my ribs, Lee hit me pretty good there. He grins at the red-faced girl who has a bit of steam coming from her ears. Oh, okay. She puts some of the ointment on her fingers and reaches out to rub it in. She rubs it on his stomach and turns as red as a tomato, making Naruto laugh at the girl. Stop laughing. Why you are moving too much. She got a little more comfortable at what she was doing and began to rub in the medicine more effectively, but still had a blush on her face. The other occupants of the room are watching with amused faces at the young future couple who is off in their own little world. Hiruzen was going to interrupt them because he had questions and needed answers. He cleared his throat, gaining the two's attention, making Hinata remember where she was and who was looking. She turned red and fainted, but Naruto caught her and pulled her into his bed and laid next to her. How can I help you, Hokage? Hiruzen notices the way Naruto says his title with little to no respect, but knows Naruto has always been that way. I would like to ask the both of you what happened during your spar. Adding extra emphasis on the word spar, considering they destroyed the training ground, making Naruto and Lee look at each other in surprise. Well, we were giving it everything we had, right, Lee? Naruto smiles at the bowl-cut hair boy. Indeed, I would not disrespect you and hold out on you like that, Naruto-kun. I gave it my all. Lee proclaimed with fire in his eyes, making Guy cry anime tears. That's right, Lee, you gave him your all and that's what really matters. They then hugged, making the others in the room sweat drop. Hiruzen coughed again to regain control of the situation. That is good and all, but where did you learn to fight like that? I am aware of who is teaching Lee, but I don't remember anyone teaching you, Naruto. Hiruzen turned an accusing and penetrating gaze towards Naruto, who only gave him a glare of his own. Naruto already knew what he was trying to get at, and in a way Kurama was teaching him, but did it really count if he was only relearning what he already knew? What are you getting at? Are you saying I am being taught by someone or something? The last word makes the two adults widen their eyes before Hiruzen narrows his eyes at Naruto. Naruto, where did you learn those moves? He asked in a stern tone and was hoping Naruto would not say what he thought he would, or drastic measures would have to be put into place. Naruto stared at the man intensely, thinking over his choices. I learned it from a scroll of taijutsu. While I told you that I have been training very hard, it seems that my efforts are showing results. Naruto told them part of the truth while also giving very little away. Hiruzen eyes the boy a little longer until he turns away and smokes on his pipe he took out. Nobody is teaching you. He gained a nod from Naruto. You got this strong all on your own. Another nod from the boy. Okay, just let me know if you feel weird or anything like that. Recover safely. He walks out to the hallway. Cat. Hiruzen calls out to nobody, but suddenly an Anbu, a female Anbu with purple hair, appears in a kneeling position. Yes, Hokage-sama, I want you to keep a close eye on Naruto Uzumaki. Report to me if he does any strange activity. Hiruzen walked off once he gave the orders, there was paperwork he had to fill out. Back in the room, Guy was talking to Lee. Lee, when you are fully healed we will increase your training. Lee only gave him a bright smile with a thumbs up. Naruto chose this chance to accomplish what he wanted. Is it okay if I train with you guys from time to time as well? Naruto really wanted them to say yes, that's why he went all out against Lee. To prove not only to himself but to Guy as well that he can fight. They both smile at Naruto, making him think they would accept him. You are welcome to join us anytime, but just know Lee will be graduating from the academy in 4 years to become a real ninja. The man finished with a nice guy pose. Naruto smiled gratefully at both of them. Thank you, I won't disappoint, and I will also be joining the academy in a few days. With the skills you showed today, your youthful career will without a doubt in my mind, that you will go far. Giving him another nice guy pose, he left the room, leaving a passed out Hinata a dozing off Lee and an almost fully healed Naruto. I should get some rest as well, when I wake up I should be fully healed. He closed his eyes to go to sleep but instead found himself in the forest watching Kurama take a bath. Why did you bring me in here? And how the hell did you get bubbles in there? Kurama laughed at Naruto before giving him an answer. There isn't nothing the great nine-tailed fox can't do, all I must do is put my mind to it and whatever I wish shall happen. Naruto only sweat dropped at the answer he received. Okay, but why did you bring me here? I was about to go to sleep with Hinata-chan. I called you here so you can practice my power. He saw Naruto about to say something but put a tail up to silence him. I won't be taking no for an answer. We are in your mind so no one will be able to notice that you are training, but I am sure you Sasuke Uchiha. That was all he got. Naruto however was not having it and grabbed Sasuke's hand and forced him to shake his hand, making the boy irritated at having his private space invaded. Don't do that. Do what? This. Naruto grabbed his hand again and shook his hand, making Sasuke give him a slight glare. Stop invading my personal space, loser. Naruto flicked him in the forehead for that comment. It's not nice to insult people like that. Naruto spoke in a tone like he was admonishing a child for getting in trouble. Don't flick me. Let's be friends. No. Yes. No. No. Yes. Great. I will come over to your place sometime and we can train. Naruto put an arm around Sasuke's shoulder, making the boy get a tick mark. Get off me, and we are not friends. Naruto only smiled at how this was going, it brought back memories. They are both interrupted when a girl's voice meets their ears. Move so I can sit next to Sasuke-kun. Naruto got a smile on his face. He looked up at the pink hair and green eyes of Sakura Haruno. He gave the girl a warm smile that made her blush a little bit at how handsome he looked. Hello, may I get your name? He asked with that same smile. Fanfiction.net. Yo, I want to say thank you for being interested in this story, and I am glad that you people like what I am doing with the story so far. I just want to clear up some things. This will not be a harem. The most you will get is one extra girl, and that is if it's in high demand. I would consider Shion for obvious reasons. Cough twin cough. I am not going to lie. That fight last chapter with Lee and Naruto was a little too much. I had to go and rewatch a bunch of Lee's fights while also reading and watching The God of High School to see how they used their style of attacks. After seeing the fights I was high off the feeling. I also thought Guy was training Lee during the academy. Him opening the gate also seemed like a good idea at the time, but I see now it was dumb. Hinata was not keeping up with Naruto and Lee during their free-for-all. That does not mean she didn't put up a fight, but she was not going toe-to-toe with them. Naruto won't be in love with Sakura. He only loves Hinata. I won't have him being over the top towards Sakura and Sasuke, but he will still be friendly towards them due to his past life. You don't have to worry about him being on Team 7. That team was destined to be a failure right off the back. The graduation age will be 13, just because I think it is better. I would make it 16, but that can be for a different story. Okay, that is everything I wanted to tell you. Now enjoy the story. I don't own none of this shit. If I did, Naruto would have bent Ino over that flower counter and given her some of his chakra, if you feel me. You saw the way she was feeling Naruto all throughout Shippuden. My name is Sakura. She squirmed a bit from embarrassment. Naruto merely smiled at his old friend. He remembered the last time he talked to her. Past life. Naruto was out late eating his favorite food with his longtime friends Sakura and Hinata. They had spotted him out in the streets walking, and Sakura thought it would be a good time for Hinata to speak with Naruto. That didn't work. She was a shy mess and Naruto was just too dense to know when someone was head over heels for him. He paid more attention to his food than the girl who was making a gift for him. So what were you two doing out so late? Naruto asked, slurping up some of his ramen and getting a bonk on his head from Sakura for his bad table manners. We were having a girlfriend's night out. Is that such a bad thing? With Sasuke always gone, I get lonely sometimes. Naruto gave her a look that made her put her head down. Why the hell don't you just make him come back? Maybe if you weren't such a wet puppy every time it came to Sasuke, he would actually listen to you. Sakura got angry at hearing the truth come from Naruto's mouth of all people. He was right though. She was the strongest kunoichi in the world and has faced many tasks, but when it came to Sasuke she was just helpless and did anything he said. Shut up. She tried to hit him again but he ducked and only gave her a foxy smile. Seems I am right again, Sakura-chan. She gained a tick mark and got up from her seat and left before she caused damage. Not before sending Naruto a mean glare that promised pain later. This left Naruto and Hinata alone at the stand. So, want to come back to my place and watch the new Princess Gale movie? I am in it. He heard a thud and saw the red face of Hinata on the counter. Present. He only chuckled to himself at the memory and looked back at Sakura. So, you want to sit next to Sasuke? She gave a shy nod, making Sasuke tense up. Naruto gave Sasuke a smirk, making the boy's eyes widen. Okay. He then got up and made room for Sakura, who took the seat immediately and gave Sasuke a bright smile. Sasuke-kun, would you go on a date with me? Sakura had a bright smile on her face and Sasuke let out a small sigh of defeat. For the last time, no. Sakura put her head down in sadness but quickly wiped it away. No worries, maybe some other time. Naruto chuckled to himself at pranking his friends. He then noticed he needed a seat and saw there was an open seat next to Hinata, who gave him a look saying, "Don't you dare." He only smiled and walked up to her, but before he could sit someone got in his way. "Hey there, hot thing. Why don't you go on a date with a real alpha like me?" A cocky voice sounded in his ears, one he knew all too well. He saw Kiba sitting next to Hinata and put an arm around her shoulder, making the girl uncomfortable. "You not go let him try and take claim on your mate, are you?" The voice of Kurama came from his head. "No. Well, put the foolish mutt in his place." "Right." Naruto's eyes become a slitted blue and he grabbed Kiba by the back of the neck and pulled the boy out of the seat. "Hey, what the hell?" Kiba tried to grab Naruto but he wasn't able to grab him. Naruto dropped him to the ground and released some of his ki on the boy, freezing him in place. "Don't come near my Hinata again." Hinata shivered at what Naruto said. She liked this side of him. She was his and he was hers. Kiba was on the ground frozen in fear, and not just him, all of the kids in the class were frozen. They were scared to even turn around and see what was going on. Sasuke was brave enough to turn and saw Naruto glaring down at the Inuzuka boy. He was reminded of how his brother looked at him when he was younger. Did Naruto have that kind of power? He wondered to himself at watching Naruto bully Kiba. Naruto quickly regained control over himself and sat next to Hinata and put an arm around her waist and pulled her close to him, making the girl blush at the public sign of affection. Hinata didn't know Naruto could be so dominant, and dare she say, she liked it. "Naruto-kun, I think you scared everyone." Hinata whispered to Naruto, who still had his arm around her waist and was not letting go. "If they are scared of this, Then they might as well just leave because the ninja world is a much more dangerous place. Most of the kids felt a bit angry at his words and hardened their resolve to become strong. He saw Kiba still looking at him and Hinata, so he showed his sharper than average canines that looked more like fangs. Get lost. Kiba got up and scrambled to the bottom of the class as far away from Naruto as possible. Hinata smiled and snuggled more into Naruto, who tightened his hold on Hinata, making the girl blush but smile all the same. He just bullied the whole class, but she would do the same if some other girl tried to take her man. Hokage office. Tell me what you have discovered about Naruto Uzumaki. Hiruzen ordered the cat Anbu he had to watch over Naruto. He wanted to know what the hell was going on with Naruto. He was completely surprised when Guy had told him about the fight between two students who were not even genin yet. Naruto's power raised a lot of questions that only led to more questions. The way he would look back at him with no fear, the way he has been acting towards the Hyuga who have sent several complaints, but there was not much he could do to the boy. It's like he said, I would spy on him and watch his training. He only did the basic exercise while also performing the basics of his taijutsu style. Although, I would sometimes feel as if he knew I was there and not show me everything he could do. Hiruzen was begging to get irritated at how complex Naruto was getting. It's as if Naruto was a totally different person. Last week he would come in and ask to be trained or told stories about the fourth Hokage. He doesn't even come to his office anymore, nor does he call him old man like he used to. Hiruzen's eyes widened. Did he figure out who his parents are? Or did he find out about the Nine Tails? He quickly shook those thoughts away. There was just no way he could figure that out. Naruto wasn't that smart. He wanted Naruto to become strong, but on his terms and under his beliefs. Hokage-sama, if I may speak freely. Hiruzen raised an eyebrow at what she could possibly want to say. He gave her a nod. I think you are overreacting. Naruto hasn't done anything but taken his training seriously, and considering what he is and what he will face in his life, this is a change for the better. I think it would be best to leave him alone and only monitor from a distance. Hiruzen wasn't so sure. If he left Naruto alone, he might end up in the hands of his enemies, and that would not be good for anyone. He promised his parents that he would take good care of Naruto, but he had broken that promise and only showed up when Naruto really needed his help. Okay, I will consider what you have said. You may take your original position back. He dismissed her, leaving him to his thoughts. He was suddenly hit with the great idea to use the crystal ball and spy on Naruto. Pulling the ball out and placing it on his desk, he pumped chakra into the ball and tried to lock onto Naruto's chakra, but he wasn't able to. He added more chakra into the ball, but all he got was static. It was as if something was blocking it from going through. But that is impossible, unless Naruto had something preventing him from watching him. He cursed at his plan failing. He would think more about this when he got the time, because now he had paperwork to do. Classroom. Naruto was currently listening to Iruka go on and on about the history of the village. He already knew about this stuff, but he would somewhat pay attention to the class this time, unlike last time. Okay class, can anyone tell me how the War in States period ended? Iruka looked around the class and saw the boy he didn't want in his class with his hand up. He didn't like Naruto at first, but he would at least give him a chance. Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto stood up and answered without missing a beat. The War in States period ended when Hashirama and Madara, the leaders of their clan, came together and formed an alliance. This led to the two going off to create this lovely village. Naruto knew this because he had let Sasuke place him into a genjutsu and showed him what Hashirama had told him about what it meant to be a shinobi. Iruka nodded in acceptance at his answer, pleased that he was paying attention. The rest of the class went like this, with Iruka asking questions that Naruto would answer in extreme detail. He decided he would show his intelligence and manipulate the system to his will. It was now the end of the day and class was dismissed. Naruto walked outside with Hinata. They were going to go and get some training in when they were stopped by Kiba and a bunch of bullies. Hey loser, what you did in the class was luck, I can't let you walk around like you're the alpha. Naruto and Hinata only rolled their eyes. All they wanted to do was go train, but this boy was getting in the way. Let's hurry up and make this quick, I have better things to do. This angered Kiba and the bullies, making them charge in head first. They were quickly dropped when Naruto only kicked them in the face too fast for them to see. Kiba was the last one left. I'm not like them and won't go down so easy. Kiba quickly charged in, making Naruto shake his head at the foolish boy. Kiba was always talking a big game but never backed it up. Naruto did a spinning kick to his face, sending him tumbling to the ground. He did all of this in front of Kiba's mom, who was looking shocked and a bit embarrassed at her foolish son. I am sorry for my pup's actions. I will make sure he learns his lesson. Naruto merely gave the older woman a smile. Don't worry about it, Miss Inuzuka, I am sure he has learned his lesson now. My name is Sum Inuzuka, so just call me Sum. I am not one for all the formal crap. She gave him a feral grin when he returned. Okay Sum, my name is Naruto Uzumaki. See ya around. He grabbed Hinata's hand and began to walk away, talking and laughing. You know Naruto-kun, sometimes I am a bit jealous at how graceful your moves look. She pouted a little, only making him chuckle. Ah, come on Hina-chan, you are making me blush. He rubbed the back of his head with a smile and blush, making Hinata giggle. You're so silly Naruto-kun. Naruto only smiled warmly at the girl and held her hand tightly. He would protect her this time, he wouldn't fail. This was his last chance after all. Later, after training for hours in their secret training ground, Naruto and Hinata make their way into the personal hot spring Naruto had made. Hinata was still shy, but Naruto was at least able to get in the same side as her now, although he had to have his eyes closed the whole time while Hinata was blushing slightly. They had worked on performing more jutsu, which left the training ground a complete wreck that would take time to grow back. He was able to do a quarter of his wind jutsu from his past life. He went back to the library to borrow more fire jutsu so he could practice with his white-hot flames. Hinata thought his flames were beautiful and indicated his strong will to prevail. Making him smile at her heartfelt words, he used the shadow clones to go over his taijutsu and sealing while he worked on his jutsu himself. Hinata had also practiced some small jutsu with Naruto. She had learned the water release water bullet and water release water shuriken. She was happy with her progress, and so was Naruto. She would have to hide that she could use jutsu because it was highly looked down upon in her clan, but Naruto had explained to her that if she limited herself it would only hurt her in the long run. They did another taijutsu spar which Naruto easily won, but he noticed that Hinata was getting better as time went by. She would often catch him off guard with her flexibility, and he would have to rely on his experience to dodge and counter her attacks. If she kept up at this pace, they would be back to their strength from the past. At least she would. Naruto still had a long time to go before he could reach his old power. He wanted to practice using his realm heart but thought he would keep it to himself for now. He didn't know what effect it would have on other people around him. He was going to tell her about Kurama but decided he would wait until she grew up a little more. He also could feel Hiruzen trying to spy on him with the crystal ball and decided he would place one on Hinata so Hiruzen couldn't spy on her and catch them in this secret training place. Hinata-chan, can I place a seal on you? She gave him a questioning look. What kind of seal? He smiled. Good. She isn't against the idea completely. He looked back at her. It will stop the Hokage from spying on you and catch you training out here with me. She looked at him with those beautiful lavender eyes he loved so much. She made a quick thinking face that made her look up and tap her chin in thought. Naruto almost jumped and cuddled with her. Do you already have the seal on you? Hinata questioned Naruto, who nodded and showed her a seal on the bottom of his foot that had the kanji for jam on his right bottom foot. And Naruto-kun, why did you put it on your foot? Well, nobody ever looks or sees the bottom of your foot, so nobody will see it. I also placed another seal over that one that makes it invisible. Hinata was impressed at how great Naruto seemed at seals. Maybe he would be able to help her with her dream for the clan. That's a good idea, but if he noticed that he won't be able to locate me either, won't that just make him know you had something to do with it? Naruto looked at her for a second. His face was blank just like his mind. How could he forget something like that? If the old man had connected the dots between the two of us, he might try to get the information out of Hinata in some way. That thought made his blood boil. He would not allow that to happen. He then got the idea to turn the seal off and on. So when she felt like someone was watching her, she could just turn the seal off and allow him to look. However, when they were inside this barrier, Hiruzen wouldn't be able to locate her chakra. The old man was soft and weak-willed, so Naruto just had to put it up to chance that he wouldn't press too hard on the situation. Okay, Hinata-chan, you make a good point. So I will try to make a new seal that you will be able to turn on and off and on. I will get to work on it tomorrow. It is late and you should make your way home. The sun had completely went down while they were in the spring. Oh, okay, Naruto-kun, take your time. She got out the water and quickly dried off so as not to freeze from the cold winds of the night. She put on her navy blue pants and slipped on her blue ninja sandals. She put on her sleeveless orange vest she had in order to match Naruto. Naruto got up and put on his clothes. They then grabbed all of their stuff and left the forest. Hinata wanted to be brave and decided she would grab Naruto's hand. Naruto only turned back and gave the girl a smile which made her blush, but smile nonetheless. They were walking to her compound when Naruto felt as if someone's gaze was on him. He looked around discreetly to see if he could find the person who was watching them. He didn't want to alert Hinata or the person watching them that he knew something was up. They had turned the corner, and that is when the person watching them striked. Naruto grabbed Hinata and jumped back from a hail of weapons coming to end their life. Naruto landed back and he saw someone drop in front of them covered in a black cloak and mask hiding their face. They had the figure of a grown man and possessed a Jonin amount of chakra. He stepped in front of Hinata, who had gotten a little scared at the sudden turn of events. "What do you think you're doing?" Naruto asked the cloaked figure in a hard tone, leaking some of his ki at the person. He could see it had an effect on them because they were shaking a little, but he still didn't get an answer. The cloaked figure simply charged Naruto, who met the person in the middle clashing. They exchanged blows for a while until Naruto landed a kick on the person's midsection, causing a grunt of pain and sending them back into a wall, sending spider-webbed cracks up the wall. Naruto knew this wouldn't keep them down, so he quickly released all his resistance seals and got ready for round 2. He looked back to the clone who was holding Hinata. "Quickly, take her to the compound." The clone nodded and turned to run off. Wait, Naruto-kun. I can help you." She tried to protest, but Naruto knew she wasn't ready and decided it would be better if she was in a safe place. The clone then began to run off with a crying Hinata. He sent her one last smile of reassurance. The cloaked figure got back to their feet and got in a stance he knew all too well. The gentle fist. He became furious at what he was seeing. He would kill this man and bring his corpse to Hiashi and demand answers. Naruto dashed off to the figure, who was surprised at the speed of the boy in front of him. Due to being caught off guard, Naruto was able to deliver a kick to the man's stomach, making him fold over on Naruto's leg. Naruto didn't stop there. He sent 2 quick kicks to the man's stomach and finished with a jumping knee to the man's lower jaw, snapping his head back. The cloaked Hyuga really underestimated how strong the kid was and now was paying the price. However, he wasn't a Jonin for nothing. He quickly caught himself and grabbed Naruto's leg that was coming for his face and put it on his shoulder. He sent a palm strike right towards Naruto's stomach. Naruto quickly switched his weight onto his left leg to gain some balance. He was now on one leg and used his captured right, only seemed to get more angry, and the cap that was holding his anger began to crack. Naruto easily dodged all of the man's attacks and delivered a punch to his jaw. shattering his jaw from the strength of his punch. Naruto stepped into the man's guard and delivered an elbow to his ribs, making the man bend down to a level Naruto could grab him. Naruto grabbed him by the back of his neck and pulled him down into his knee over and over again until the man's nose broke and blood began to pour. Naruto finished him off by snapping his neck without mercy. Naruto used his advanced senses to locate Hinata's chakra. He felt her distress and fear and quickly jumped off, leaving the Hyuga's dead body on the ground to go cold. Naruto then jumped through the roof and ran to Hinata's location. "Where the Anbu? If they won't show, I will make them." He ran at Jonin level speeds, only a white blur across the rooftop. He then spotted the orange vest of Hinata running in the alleyway, but he also saw the other Hyuga right behind her. "No, she needs me. I have to save her." He then channeled a huge amount of chakra into his hand that sounded like 1,000 birds chirping. A huge Chidori was in his hand. It was so packed with chakra it weighed his arm down. The chakra was so bright it lit up a part of the night. The others turned at the spike of chakra and saw Naruto running towards them with a lighting-covered hand. He then disappeared from their vision until they heard the birds above them. Chidori. Naruto ran the attack through two of the Hyuga, killing them in an instant, but he was not able to reach the other one. The attack faded from his hand and he quickly dropped to a knee and coughed up some blood. They Hyuga took this chance to finish the mission and kill the Hyuga girl. He lunged towards her with his palm aimed to hit her in the heart and kill the girl in an instant. Time seemed to slow down for Naruto. He felt déjà vu at the situation all over again. It was the same as last time. Hinata was stabbed by pain, all because of him. He wouldn't allow things to turn out that way again. That is when he noticed everything around him seemed to have stopped. The blood that was in the air was stuck in place. He tried to touch it, but his finger couldn't reach the blood. It was being stopped. He however shook that off when he saw the man about to hit Hinata, who had her eyes closed. He quickly got to his feet and pulled a kunai from his pouch and tried to stab the man, but the same thing happened with the blood. He couldn't make contact with the man. So he merely got in front of Hinata and aimed the kunai towards the man's head, so when time moved again he would die in an instant. That was another problem. How did he stop whatever was going on? "Kurama, are you seeing this?" "I am, and let me be the first to say. Damn, you seem to have stopped time. That's cool and all, but how do I unfreeze it?" "I don't know, this is some complex shit. This new form of yours seems to be a lot more complicated than we imagined." Kurama was simply impressed at the potential this new Sage mode had. He was able to control all the 5 elements like child's play, similar to an Otsutsuki. He may be able to use all bloodlines because of this fact. Now the most recent one. He can freeze time but is unable to interact with frozen people or objects. Try to think of making time flow again. Naruto concentrated on making the time flow again. That was when the name of the move came to his mind. Static Void. He mumbled, and that is when time resumed once again. The Hyuga didn't even have time to blink. He saw the lavender eyes through the mask and barely caught a glimpse of the kunai that impacted his skull, killing him on the spot. Blood spurted out and landed on his mask. He turned around and saw a shaking Hinata. He quickly took off the mask and deactivated Realmheart. He wrapped Hinata into his bloody arms. He sealed the mask back up and simply held Hinata, who cried into his chest. "Don't worry, Hinata-chan, I got you." He whispered into her ear softly. Why? She was able to get out between sniffs. "Why what? Why did they try to kill us?" She stopped crying and simply stayed in his arms. He wondered that too. Why did they come after the both of them? "I don't know, but we will find out. That isn't important right now. All that matters is that you are safe." He ran his hands through her midnight blue hair and placed her head on his shoulder. Naruto-kun, what was that form you were in? Your hair was white, you even used that strong lighting attack. She flinched a bit at remembering how Naruto killed those two so brutally. Naruto felt her start to shake and held her closer to him. "It is something I wanted to keep secret until I got a better handle on it. I need you to keep it a secret for me, okay? She nodded. Okay Naruto-kun, it doesn't matter anyways. All that matters is that you are safe. She held onto him tighter. He chuckled lightly but quickly coughed up blood and fell to his back. Damn, it seems forcefully opening my chakra points in this form did a number on me, not to mention all the attacks I did. Not to mention I was already tired from training today. He coughed a little more, making Hinata worry even more. And Naruto-kun, you are hurt. Tears were coming to her eyes at not being able to help Naruto. He saw this and didn't want her to cry again. Hinata-chan, do you have more of your magical cream? He gave her a bloody smile. Hinata sucked in a breath and the inside of her neck started to burn. She pulled out the magical cream with shaky hands. I told you it's called ointment. She then began to rub it on his bruises but it was washed away because of her tears and the rain that had suddenly appeared. She cried but you couldn't tell if it was tears or from the rain. She held Naruto close to her as he fell unconscious due to everything that happened tonight. This is the scene Hiruzen and a squad of Anbu appear to see. Dead bodies and blood everywhere. The Hyuga heiress crying silently with a passed-out Naruto in her lap. He could see from here the bad shape the boy was in. Did he do all of this? I felt that build-up of chakra. But to think this 8-year-old boy did this. Naruto, just what are you not telling? He told the Anbu to search the area for anything that might help them with the scene at hand. He walked to the two kids. Come, we need to get you two to the hospital. He tried to pick up Naruto but his hand was swatted away by Hinata. I will bring him there. She then picked Naruto up in her arms and looked at him expectantly. Are you going to take us to the hospital or what? Hiruzen was just shocked at the normally shy girl smacking his hand away and telling him what to do. He coughed in his hand to get his brain to work again. Right, Anbu, keep searching and report to me when you find anything useful. He then placed a hand on Hinata and body flickered to the hospital. Hospital. They appeared in the hospital and when he thought Hinata would stumble like last time, she didn't and only walked to the desk. I need a doctor for my friend. Hinata said as calmly as she could to the nurse at the desk who looked at her and smiled until she noticed who Hinata was holding and scowled. That thing isn't allowed, so get lost. The nurse said with clear venom in her tone. Hinata activated her Byakugan in anger and glared at the nurse. Give us a room, now. The nurse was a bit frightened and was about to curse the girl out until she heard a voice that made her freeze. I believe the young lady asked for a room. Hiruzen said, placing a hand on Hinata's shoulder. Hokage-sama. Right away. She quickly got up and escorted them to a hospital room and called for the best doctor. Hinata put Naruto in the bed, not even taking off his bloody zip-up black jacket. She shed a few more tears and held his hand to comfort him in his sleep. Don't worry Naruto-kun, I am here for you. Hiruzen, watching this, smiled to himself. It seems that Naruto has found him a true friend. Hinata then turned to Hiruzen. What did that lady mean when she called Naruto a thing? Hinata didn't even want to say that about Naruto. She was angry and wanted to give the nurse a palm strike to the gut. Hiruzen sighed. He had hoped that she didn't hear that but he guessed it was for naught. He wondered if he should tell this 8-year-old girl that secret. He would have to talk with her anyways about what happened so he guessed it would be better to tell her now. Plus it seemed like she actually cared about Naruto. He placed down a privacy seal. What I am about to tell you cannot leave this room, it is a S-ranked secret. Hinata nodded ready to hear what was going to be said.